Toys Corner. Today I'm talking to Beth Gentry. I'm talking to Beth Gentry. She goes to our church. Hope you enjoy it. I'm going to give you a treatment. Look at every... Look.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
You know, I live with chaos, so everything's good. I honestly, it's a blessing. And talking about recovery, it's a blessing because I'm not in prison, I'm not dead, and I'm able to have a wonderful man that I prayed for that has a nice home that we're able to bring grandma home and to pass away with her family. I'm sober for this. So yeah, it's good. It's a beautiful process, and the girls are getting a good perspective, and I'm so thankful we're Christians through all this because, you know, we could talk about heaven a whole lot. So yep, we're good. My kids, when I first got out of rehab, a lot of people think when you got out of rehab, oh, okay, you're sober, you're clean now, whatever. And they kept telling me, Mom, you know, you're recovered. And I said, not till they close the lid on my coffin can you say I'm recovered. You know, it's a daily, it's not a struggle. It's a daily gift. I get to wake up and be clean, sober, in recovery for today.
If anybody's willing to be honest with themselves, it's those of us who have gotten into recovery, and we have a little bit of a head start within that confine of, oh, there's always going to be stuff that we're going to have to fight against every day until we're off this planet, period.
Right. Knowing that is half the battle. Like, I never have told people, oh, I hate meth. I hate what it did to me. No, I loved it because I continued going back to it. Even when I was, you know, at the end, I still was using, so I didn't hate it that bad. So I need to realize, yeah, you did love this stuff. Now, it did destroy everything, but I loved it. I can't go back. I know that I can't always say no, but I know I can never say yes. Because of IV meth use, there's like a 97% relapse rate. And I had people waiting for me to relapse, just waiting. And judges, attorneys, DAs, federal prosecutors were like, we're going to give her some time because she's not going to do it. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do it just to make you mad. I'm going to prove a point. So sometimes being stubborn pays off.
Reframing what the reality is. The reality is what we make it out to be. Like, yeah. Our perception is going to be the reality. And that's the dirty little secret we don't often realize until it's too late. We're driven by something, period.
Yeah.
We're going to have a dictator of what our decisions and energy and life is run by. It's just a matter of what, and being honest about what, and being able to shift that. It is, because to hear that stat, 97%, that's a horrifying statistic.
Yeah. But I have 100% success rate if I never use again. We're like, the whole family was surrounding her. We were singing to her. Rylan and Silas and Kendall were there, and they all took turns singing songs like This Little Light of Mine, Jesus Loves Me. I took the opportunity to read the 23rd Psalms to her, Proverbs 31. We did a lot of Hebrews about faith, the cloud of witnesses. And I told her, I said, you're going to be on that cloud for me. And that's my favorite verse to get through death is Hebrews 12, 1 and 2. Just, you've won the race and there's a cloud of witnesses. And I can imagine, even through my recovery, looking back now, not in the midst of it, but man, my other grandparents watched me. Well, there's no tears in heaven, but I knew they were on that cloud cheering me on, you know, and I give them credit that they weren't here because of the people that I love that have gone before me. They're on that cloud with Jesus going, come on, you can do this. You can do this. So, and now I get one more on my cheering team in heaven. My cloud's getting bigger.
That's a beautiful visual.
It is. people up there cheering you on, no matter what your struggle is, you know. So life isn't always easy, but like you said, it's your perspective. I can look at things as horrible and awful. My childhood, you know, and it's so funny because my brother and I have two totally different views about growing up. And I grew up in an abusive home. My dad was very abusive to my mother, abusive to my brother, had numerous affairs. He was a Church of Christ preacher, having affairs with the church secretary, and numerous other people, very abusive. And so, yeah, I mean, you could say, oh, my childhood was so horrible. When I was 11, I was raped by the youth minister intern doing his summer internship. He raped several girls. I was the last one because I told. So I can look at my childhood and go, well, my childhood was so horrible. I was raped and my dad was this and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? Things happened. Okay. But I've gained tools from that and I can help other people through things. And my childhood was cool. There was a lot of really cool stuff that happened. I mean, I still love my dad. You know, we all make mistakes. I have to forgive people. Everybody's forgiven me. I think they act like it anyway. But I mean, I have to forgive people. No one's perfect. We all have struggles. Maybe it's a substance, maybe it's a person, maybe it's an attitude. We all struggle and we have to forgive people. He's not that person today, you know, and I love him, but I had a cool childhood. I tend to focus on the fun we had, you know, and Satan's like, oh, remember this? Yeah, I remember that. And you remember your future, Satan? So, okay. I always like to say when Satan reminds me of my past, I remind him of his future.
There does. Like, you have to be able to zoom out and see those levels, because to act like it's not there doesn't do anybody any good. No, that didn't exist. Well, yeah, it did. But dwelling on it and where your landing spot becomes the huge turning point of whether or not one force or the other has the driver's seat.
Right. You think you're doing the best you can. In my addiction, I thought I was being a cool mom. Like, I would just take my kids shopping, buy whatever you want. Here's this. And I was the cool mom that took them out to TP houses at 2:00 in the morning because I was up. I thought I was doing the best that I could at that time. You know, now I can do a lot better. Now I can actually be here and put them in bed at a decent hour and bring them to church with me and share the transformation that God has made. So they think they're doing the best, but you take the good and, you know, don't take the bad. But some of the bad makes you who you are. It doesn't make you be bad, you know. But, you know, I tell people it's not a mistake if you learn from it. You know, they're mistakes. We're not really mistakes. They're lessons. And just like the analogy of making biscuits, I don't like baking soda by itself. I really don't care for a flour by itself. I'm not a big salt eater. Now, I do like some butter by itself. But you put those together, and I love me some biscuits. You know, so you bring all that together and make the best you can out of it. So, you know, that's what I tell people. Yeah, those things happen. But what did you learn from it? I got some of my dad's flaws. I tend to have a little bit of anger. I don't like to say I'm sorry, you know, and my dad's he's never wrong. He's never sorry. So, and I need to, that's been pointed out to me a lot throughout my life was you don't like to apologize. You know, I'm just like, can I just buy you something? Yeah. And I just like, I'm sorry, you know, I love you. And that's my thing is, well, you know, I love you, but to hear it, you know, it's nice to hear it. So yeah, just find the good, even in the bad. So.
I took a semester of pottery in high school as one of my electives, and not unlike the aspect of the biscuits, what's happening on the front end doesn't become a formed product until extreme heat and pressure and elements that are not comfortable and a time period of just pain, for lack of a better word, is inflicted upon it to where there's weathered enough to where, okay, now it's something that can be beneficial in this regard. But it doesn't come without that sense of pressure at the end, and you're not going to get a biscuit if you don't put it in the oven.
Right? You're not going to get a diamond without going through the coal, and even gold. I mean, you know, you heat it up and you pour it and you make a piece of jewelry out of it. So we got to walk through some fire, you know, and thank goodness we don't walk through it alone ever, you know, and there's people that come alongside us that have been through the fire, you know, and there's people that try to go before us and go, you know, I kind of see maybe some choices that, you know, personally, those choices took me down. And maybe, you know, what you say in that moment may or may not matter. But I've had people come back, and I've even gone to people that tried to reach out to me in my addiction and were really good to me, pouring their heart out into me. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. But now looking back, there were seeds planted. You know, I remember one day I had been arrested, I guess a couple of times. My mom had found my dope, found a syringe, found a meth pipe because I got high and left it out in the bathroom. And so she kind of thought I was doing drugs. I mean, it was kind of obvious. But as a mommy, you don't want to think that about your kids. But the reality was there. My daughter's a meth addict. She came in the bathroom one day, I was getting ready, and she had a little butterfly with a little chain that hung down, and it said, "I'm so proud of you." And it like could stick on the bathroom mirror or on a windshield or something. And it just like really, I had a lot of anger in my addiction, but it like made me mad. Like, what are you proud of? Like, Mom, you know, the reality's here. I don't ever see my kids. I'm in trouble with the law. You know, I'm useless. I'm a piece of trash, Mom, like the lowest form of trash, like an IV meth addict. I mean, come on. And you're proud of me? You know, what's up with that? And I'll tell you what, that butterfly was with me every single day. I mean, I get chills thinking about it, but she saw something. She was able to look through and see the fire that was in my heart. And I had to do a little burning to get. When people come to me and say, I have a loved one struggling with addiction, what can I do? I'm like, here's the deal. You pray for a pig pen. You pray for them to have their pig pen experience, because you've got to be there, because it's not going to happen. I don't know of anybody who just, and I'm sure they're out there, but I don't know if anybody's like, oh, I don't want to do meth anymore, I'm just going to quit. I mean, it takes something to bring you there. Okay. And everybody's bottom looks different. And some people have a whole lot of bottoms. My bottom was more like a rocky cliff where you fall down and you hit different rocks that are sticking out on the way. I had several of those. You pray for that pig pen, whatever it is. If that pig pen means prison for life, if that pig pen means they're handicapped. I have a friend that broke her neck when she was high and drunk, and now is a quadriplegic. But she said, if it wasn't for this, I wouldn't have a chance at heaven. This was an answered prayer to be a quadriplegic, because I finally turned my life around. Some people, if your bottom is prison, well, maybe you find Jesus in there. Whatever it takes in that pig pen, not for you to have a happy, fun, glorious life, but to get to heaven. That's your ultimate goal. So I tell people that pig pen may be scary while they're on this earth, but their goal is eternity. So you pray for that pig pen, you know. You're never alone. That's just it. You're never alone. So you got a pretty good cheerleader up there in heaven, and a cloud of witnesses up there cheering you on too.
Amen to that. Do you identify any one moment as the biggest pig pen moment, or is it, as you mentioned, a series?
Well, oh man, I sold dope to an ATF agent. I mean, he was undercover, and I have people literally go, "Did you know he was ATF agent?" No, I was dumb. I wasn't that dumb, but selling dope to an ATF agent, knowing you're probably going to go to life, you know, prison for life, federal, which you do pretty much all your time. Then maybe some people getting pregnant would be like, "Oh man, I need to stop using it. I'm pregnant." I call my bottom the last time I got high. I was sitting in a bathtub. I had just got out of behavior medicine for attempted suicide, because you go to jail or you go to the nut house, and I was tired of jail food. St. Anthony's had much better food. So I said I was crazy, which I didn't have to say that. They knew that. But I had only been out of behavior medicine, will be professional, for a few days. My boyfriend picked me up, and he's like, man, you can't stay here. You're a mess. When a mess tells you you're a mess, you're probably a mess. So he brought me to my mom's, and I slept for a few days. I had my bag with me, and I had a little bit of dope in there because I always had dope with me. And so I was 5.5 months pregnant with Rylan. I sat in that bathtub for probably 2 hours. The water had become ice cold. My veins were shot. Like getting blood from me is horrible because I just blew my veins. I just put so much dope in there and mixed it so thick. It was just horrible. But I sat there for over probably 2 hours trying to find a vein I could get high. And the dope was so diluted at that point because you had to add water and there was blood with it. The water in the bathtub was bloody from me, just all these puncture wounds. And I'm sitting there knowing if I ever did be able to get it in, it wasn't really going to get me high. But I wasn't saying, man, I was going to do something. I wasn't going to quit. Once again, stubborn. And every once in a while, the water would ripple when the baby would kick, you know, and then every once in a while, a tear would just fall onto my stomach because I wanted to quit, but I don't know how. You know, I didn't think I could do it by myself. So that was the last time I ever got high. That's why I have 12/2/08 right here. That's my clean date. And it took me a few years before I tattooed it on there because I'm like, am I really going to do this? Oh, yeah. So I went ahead and put it there permanently. But that was my bottom. But then the feds came and arrested me a few days later. And I went to court. And they weren't going to let me out of jail until I was sentenced. But because of the power of prayer, my mom, the minute the FBI came into her house and arrested me, and that was crazy, like so crazy. That was very traumatic. That was my family's bottom, seeing that happen. Because it wasn't just the FBI, it was the ATF, the U.S. Marshals, the Sheriff Drug Task Force, Oklahoma City cops. If it had labels and in our initials, it was in my mom's house. There was probably 40 people in her living room when they came to arrest me. They took me out at gunpoint in front of my daughter, Shelby, who was 18 at the time, and my sweet little mom. You know, they saw me go out with guns pointed to get me away. But I went to jail, and I was going to stay there until I was sentenced because every time they let me out, I went and sold drugs again. It was stupid. So the judge calls me my mom started praying. The minute they took me out of the house, she had the Dale City Church of Christ start praying nonstop. People took shifts every hour to pray. And I don't know what you pray for something like that. I have no clue what they prayed for. You know, like put her in jail, you know, just whatever. But they were good prayers because when I went to go be arraigned, which is a 2-minute conversation, like these are your charges and you're going to jail or we'll see you on this court date. Mine was like, okay, these are all your charges, 24 pounds of meth, hand-to-hand sale to ATF agent were what they were charging me with. Everything else was just kind of, yeah, that's no big deal. All the other stuff, those were the 2 biggies. And that was enough for life. And all they have to say is, and you're going to jail until we arraign you. And this 2-minute supposed to be arraignment went on for like 45 minutes. And the judge calls my mom up to the witness stand. And I looked at my attorney and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to jail. I'm going to prison. I'm leaving today because my mom won't lie. And she knows that I'm still being stupid. She knew about the bathtub incident and stuff. And the questions he asked her, she didn't have to lie. And they said, well, we're going to let her go to rehab. I had already called. My mom's like, if you come to my house after the nut house, you're going to have to go to rehab. I think you need help. And I'm like, maybe I do have a problem. You know, I was always prideful and like, oh, I don't do drugs. Or, you know, I do drugs. They don't do me. Well, they did me in. Okay. And so I started to realize, oh, maybe I'm not so tough anymore. I guess I have a problem. I'm 5.5 months pregnant. I got these 2 other beautiful girls. Maybe I did need some help. Okay, fine, whatever. And so I called Jordan's Crossing and they could get me in about a week later, which was really fast, but because I was pregnant and IV meth user, I was first on the list. So I still had like a week to wait. And during that time I was stupid. But when I went to court, my attorney's like, well, she's called a rehab and she's supposed to go tomorrow. December 10th is her check-in date, and this was the 9th. And, and the judge is like, okay, we're gonna let you go to rehab instead of jail. Because I was supposed to just sit in jail, and they wanted maybe the baby to be born not in a jail cell, not in the system. So because of prayers, because that never happens. And so because of prayers, they were gonna let me go to rehab. Even though I thought the bathtub was my bottom, and it was, I still was gonna find another cliff. But I tell people, your bottom is when you quit digging, okay? And I tell people, recovery is like it's like a high-rise building, okay? You have your basement, your bottom, and that's when you quit digging, and your shovel's right there. It's sitting there in the corner. And so when I first got clean, I saw that shovel every day, like, hey, you want to come get me and let's dig some more? And I focused on the shovel. And then as time goes on, you kind of move up a couple of floors, like, hey, you're on the first or second floor, decent apartment, yeah, the shovel's still there. And then over time, and like today, I'm in the penthouse. Like I've made it. I'm not quite the penthouse. That's heaven. I'm like right before the penthouse. Okay. I don't think about that shovel. It's still there. My shovel is still in that basement. I don't focus on it. The quarantine was hard on me. I'm a people person. My family still lives in fear. You talked earlier about the stigma and stuff. And not being fully recovered. Our family thinks we can be recovered, but yet they still fall back on, are you going to get high? Are you going to get drunk? Are you going to kill yourself? I mean, so they still have those insecurities as well, but they just think we should flip a switch. Be like, okay, we're recovered now. And I kind of look like that. Like my family's like, oh, we know you'll never use again. I'm like, don't say that. I hope not, and I pray not.
Thanks, Beth. We enjoyed it. Hope you enjoy it. Bye. Again, Beth Gentry